Good day, everyone. I am J. Christine TV, Yed 2. I am your reporter for today that are discuss about the cognitive and metacognitive factors that are 14 principles of LCP. Nature of learning process. The learning of complex subject matter is the most effective when it's an intentional process of constructing meaning from information and experience. Intentional is willing to undergo to wanted to something to learn the the knowledge is an active process that happens through individual or social engagement by building or people's prior knowledge and experience. All learnings build on what the participants already know that bring them of the training. Second, there are different types of learning processes, for example, habit, information, and motor learnings, and learning that's involved the generation of knowledge or cognitive skills learning strategy. The learnings of strategy is ginagamit ito as a leader. Learning is a school emphasize the use of intentional process that student can use to construct meaning from information, experience, and their own true beliefs, because we can link the information with the new previous knowledge through experience. Successful learners are active, goals directed, self-regulating, and assume personal responsibility for contributing to their own learning. The principal sets for in these documents focus in these types of learning, because we need to set goals of direct, like teacher to need a set goals. We need learners to goal directed. They set the goal by the other, but the achieve your learners, good understanding learners, the learners motivated. You need to across the goals can create the meaningful of cognitive and metacognitive intentional. Three situation of nature of learning process. First is example of child learn by practicing a simple writing, because we all know that education starting at home. It is important to remember that the writing we can as a difficult subject to teach and assess, and as it is to learn. Many students have trouble writing with clarity, coherence, and organization, and this can discourage them from writing if they feel frustrated. Third is learning is from all sides, because children learn from their parents, teacher, environment, nature, media, and etc. It denotes the lifelong nature of learning. Everyday new situation are faced, and the individual has to bring essential changes in the style of behavior adapted to tackle them, and help your child to manage time, to expose your child to new ideas and areas. The third is the third situation of nature of the learning process is child learn how to clap hands by using seeing someone else to do it, because also takes a place through direct experience. As a part of the topic, we went to several elements of short period of time. The children who until then hands taking part of such activities caught up in their cognitive abilities to those who did, she said, but his finding only surface for group of children are going to hand clamping training, because be made an integral parts of education for children age 6 to 10 for purpose of motor and cognitive training, learn how to teach every learners uh, of education or practicing by outside and inside. That's all. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Remio Alcos, third year Bachelor of Physical Education. My reporting today is the goals of the learning process. What is the goals of the learning process? For me, the goals of learning the process is the successful, the learning over time, and with support and the instructional guidance can create the meaningful, coherent representation of knowledge. For me, as the goals of learning the process is for sacrifice of learning the student and over the time and the support and for the guidance. For the example of tayo, kailangan jud tayo mag-aral na mabuti dahil doon natin makita kung ano ang mga learning na ibinigay ng mga guro. At for the example of the goals of learning process is first is the student can analyze and explain the problem X or concept the Y. For the example, the student analyze maraming mga bata na hindi marunong bumasa at hindi marunong sumusulat ng mga number. Yon. And we analyze for the student, and the student does understand the concept X and are able to discuss it from common the most patient. Students can use their the understand to solve problem and development of perspective. May iba ng mga estudyante na marunong magbilang at marunong mag-solve ng problem. May iba na hindi at meron pong marunong mag-solve ng format. And for me, the goals of learning process is for the learning of goals, the learning and for the achievers and learning to able by the end of the course. And for that para sa goals of learning the process is it is cannot to understand for objective and for for learning end of the course. Thank you and God bless.
So, good day everyone. I am the reporter for Construction of Knowledge. By the way, I am Mr. Muhammad Amin, and my topic is all about construction of knowledge. What is construction? Construction is the act or result of construing, interpreting, or explaining. What is knowledge? Knowledge is a familiarity, awareness, or understanding of someone or something, such as facts, propositional knowledge, skills, procedural knowledge, or objects. Acquaintance knowledge. The term knowledge can be referred to a theoretical or practical understanding of a subject. So next, what is construction of knowledge? Construction of knowledge is a collaborative process which aims to produce new understanding of knowledge which exceeds something that anyone alone could not achieve. It is also essential that knowledge construction is based on each other's ideas and thoughts, and generating knowledge by their experiences and applying to the ideas. Active processes that happens through individual or social engagement. This implies that trainers should provide learners opportunities to socially and individually engage in the process. of making meaning by using participatory methods. Learners are not passive receptors. They should be engaged in active learning and supported in the construction of meaning beyond the classic of reporter or listening, reading, and memorizing. In addition, trainers should create context where participants can engage in dialogue in order to construct a shared meaning and understanding of the topic addressed. All learning is built on what the participants already know and bring them to the training. This includes all types of learning acquired in any context: cultural knowledge, personal knowledge, metacognitive knowledge, and tacit knowledge. It is supported by engaging in multiple perspectives and representations of the learned content, skills, and social realms. This implies that we should introduce knowledge and skills to participants in diverse manners, multiple formats, and different situations, as well as to challenge them to view information from multiple and diverse perspectives. The importance of construction of knowledge is, or rather are, students learn by connecting new knowledge with knowledge and concepts that they already know. That students connect knowledge most effectively in active social classrooms where they negotiated understanding through interaction and varied approaches. Students are often considered critical thinking. So when you say critical thinking, that are the possible ways that the person or the students are not desirable in their thinking capability. Activities that requires knowledge construction ask student to interpret, analyze, synthesize, or evaluation information or ideas. Interpretation means drawing inferences beyond the literal meaning. Let's say, for example, students might read a description of a historical period and infer why people live and then behave the way they did. Analysis means identifying the parts of a whole and their relationship to each other. For example, students might investigate local environmental factors to determine which are most likely to affect migrating birds. Synthesis. Synthesis means identifying the relationship between two or more ideas. For example, students might be required to compare and contrast perspectives from multiple sources. Evaluation means judging the quality, credibility, or importance of data, ideas, or events. For example, the student might read different accounts of an historical event and determine which ones they find most credible. So, that would be all my report, and thank you.
Good day everyone, I'm Chen A. Makundan. I'm here to discuss the thinking about thinking. Thinking about thinking, higher order strategy for selecting and monitoring mental operation and facilitate creative and critical thinking. Thinking about thinking, its ability to think about your own thinking by analyzing the activity in your brain and asking questions if she memorized information. Example, the student learned about what things help him or her to remember the facts, name, and Successful learner can reflect on how they think and learn, set reasonable learning or performance goals, select potential appropriate learning strategy or methods, and monitor their process toward these goals. In addition, successful learners know what to do if their problem occurs or they are not making sufficient or timely progress toward a goal. They can direct alternative methods to reach their goal or reassess the appropriateness and utility of the goal. Successful learners, they are enthusiasm and motivation for learning. They are determination to reach high standard of achievement. Example, 9 out of 17 subjects were successful learners and 8 were less successful learners. Successful learners, they believe in understanding and gossip concept instead of growth of learning. Instructional method that can focus on helping learners develop this higher order or metacognitive strategy can enhance student learning and personal responsibility for learning. Instructional method is focusing in helping learning to develop their metacognitive by using different techniques to help students to become independent in strategic learning. Example, visual, verbal, and auditory. These are some example um, um, of techniques. Example, visual, when you are writing information, notes, diagram, and pictures. Instructional method is important aspect of teaching and learning to determine the activity of teachers and the student.
Good day everyone, I am Charina Pirogo, Bachelor of Physical Education. Today I am going to discuss one of the principles of the cognitive and metacognitive factors, which is the context of learning. Context of learning is influenced by environmental factors, including culture, technology, and instructional practices. So every day in our life we are experiencing something, and we're learning from doing that. We are learning new knowledge, we are learning specific skills from the events and happening in our surroundings. Then the culture includes what people actually do and what they believe. Culture influences greatly on how we see the world, how we try to understand it, and how we communicate each other. Technology also can help students by making learning more engaging and collaborative, rather than memorizing facts. Students learn by doing through critical thinking. Example situation is this could be as simple as learners taking a interactive quiz in class, or participating in technology-enabled group discussions. Technology helps students to research subject matters, share ideas, and learn. By doing that, we are learning specific skills. Next, we have learning does not occur in vacuum. Teachers play a major interactive role with both the leader and the learning environment. So learning does not take place in the absence of someone. Teachers interact both learners and the learning environment in a significant way to make the classroom environment nurturing, to have significant impacts on the students' learning. Next, we have the cultural or group influences on students can impact many educationally relevant variables such as motivation, orientation toward learning, and ways of thinking. So, every classroom is diverse and unique in its own way. Teachers know that the students learn in different ways. Of course, we also know that an individual learners that an individual learner's culture and family background affect his or her own learnings. The context in which someone grows and develops has an important impact on his own learning. It has an impact on the opportunities for success of every student in the school. Next, we have the technologies and instructional practices must be appropriate for learners' level of prior knowledge, cognitive abilities, and their learning and thinking strategies. So, students' engagement. Students don't want to learn in a vacuum. Kasi, as a future educator, if the test that you give or the teacher give to learners is interesting, then they engage learners, and the learners is motivated to persist. Come up with the example situation. Come up with the activities and procedures that encourage discovering, trying, and experimenting new skills and concepts. This promote the development of problem-solving skills of the learners and allows learners to relate new information to unfamiliar situations. Kasi once we have some context, we learn something new, we learn something specific skills. And without context, our understanding is very limited. We misinterpret new information, or we misinterpret information into a false conclusion. Next, we have the classroom environment, particularly the degree to which it is nurturing or not, can also have significant impacts on student learning. So the classroom environment, the lesson or the concept that the teacher is taught to his or her learners has, whether it is nurturing or not, still has a significance to a student's learning, because contextual learning is based on classroom experiences. In such learning environment, learners discover how to relate abstract ideas to practical real-life situations. Through this process of discovering, reinforcing, and relating, students internalize new concepts that they might apply in the real-life situations. Examples of contextual learning, when the teacher conduct a field trips and conduct also games, because that will enhance the learners' critical thinking skills. Contextual learning is not just outside the classroom, doing games. Not just on that. Small group activities with the material being taught are contextual learning too. So the question is, how are we going to implement this kind of principle as a future educator? So I think we're going to implement or present concept and tasks that are familiar to the learners. In real-life situation, this can be inside or outside of the classroom. Just like, yun nga, example, field trips, like that. Tapos, magpo-provide tayo ng realistic examples and authentic problems that are convincing. For example, link assignments for everyday sites and current events. It will make learning more relevant and increase student engagement. So let's talk about the students' engagement. A lot of students na hindi nagpa-participate kasi hindi interested in topic. So dapat yung teacher is nagde-design ng lessons that is interesting dapat, kasi motivate yung mga estudyante or may encourage sila to participate in that activities just because it was interesting. itatry nilang mag-discover, itatry nilang mag-experiment ng mga bagong skills and new concepts. And also this also promotes the critical thinking and the problem solving skills of the learners, and it allows them to relate the new information that they got from what the teachers taught to unfamiliar situations in life. That's all. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Libin. The task that I will report is all about the motivational and effective factors. The motivational and effective factors have three factors: motivational and emotional influences on learning. Second, intrinsic motivation to learn. And third is effect of motivation on effort. The task that I will report is all about motivational and emotional on learning. Motivational and emotionals on learning. Motivational means many factors influence on given student motivation to work and learn. Interest in the subject matter, general desire to achieve environment facilities, as well as patience and persistence. Emotional means has a substantial influence on the cognitive processes in humans, including perceptions, attentions, learning, memory, reasoning, and problem solving. Emotion has a particularly strong influence on attentions, especially modulating the selectivity of attentions as well as motivating actions and behavior. So, students believe about themselves as learners, and the nature of learning have marked influence emotional factor. Motivational and emotional factors also influence both the quality of thinking and information processing, as well as an individual's motivations to learn. Positive emotions such as curiosity generally enhance motivations and facilities learning and performance. Mild anxiety can also enhance learning and performance by focusing the learner's attentions on particular tasks. However, intense negative emotions, example, anxiety, panic range, insecurity, and related thoughts, worrying about competence, ruminating about failure, fearing punishment, ridicule or stigmatizing level. So, motivational and emotional influence on learning. So, in motivational and emotional influence on learning, dito natin malalaman kung paano tayo natuto. Pag motivate natin yung sarili natin, doon din malalaman kung ano ang learning na na-adapt natin. For example, hindi ako marunong masyadong mag-English. Then, I motivate myself na dapat ito gawin ko. Dapat matuto ako mag-English because third year college na ako. So, by motivating myself, there's a learning.
So, dito po sa video na ito, makikita mo yung life cycle ng emotional and effective factors. So, pag emotional and motivation, pag ina-adapt mo sila, makakuha ka talaga ng learning. And that's all for today. Thank you. So, the next reporter will discuss the continuation of my report.
Good day everyone, I am Desiree Malines and my topic is all about the intrinsic motivation to learn. So, intrinsic, the learner's creativity, higher order, thinking, and natural curiosity all contribute to motivation to learn. Intrinsic motivation is stimulated by tasks of optimal novelty and difficulty relevant to personal interest and providing for personal choice and control. Intrinsic motivation is a way of imagination on tasks that are comparable to a real-world situation. So, intrinsic ability can be motivated by the creativity and curiosity which is natural innate to every people. With that, it drives a person to do such things to preserve what is being imagined and ask to seek for way and solution. Just always remember that intrinsic motivation is a happy feeling without any reason, or the act of doing something without any obvious external rewards. For example, you are reading a book. You are reading a book because you enjoy reading and have interest in the story or in the subject, not just because you read the book because you have to write a report on it to pass a class. Another example of motivation to learn, for example, is participating in a sports because it is fun and you enjoy it rather than doing it to win an award. That is the example of intrinsic motivation, an act of doing something without asking or aiming an award. Curiosity is one of the major indicators of the learner's intrinsic motivation to learn and considered as one of the driving force for the individual or student to learn and motivated their intrinsic ability. By way of curiosity finds answer and bridge into achieve what are the minds asking for. Example of curiosity. Learning a new language. You are learning or experiencing new things because you are curious of different kind of language, not just because your job requires it to learn from it. And that curiosity find an answer to achieve what is your mind asking for to learn a new language. Educators, like teachers, plays a role towards students to develop and motivate strategies to learners to achieve higher standards of understanding. So that would be all about my topic, the intrinsic motivation to learn. Thank you and salamat.
Good day, everyone. So this moment, let's proceed to our next principle, the title, the effect of motivation on effort. Motivation affect determination, effort, and energy. Once they get motivated to achieve something by doing tasks, they will eventually exert their full time, full effort, and energy. In this way, they become determined or persistent in accomplishing things even if these are not their interest. As a future educator, one of the biggest challenges in the classroom is improving students' motivation, because in 100% not totally active, maybe 30% learners inactive or unmotivated. The reason why: some of the others lack of effort, lack of knowledge, lack of perseverance, and some of the others, they have a personality issues. So how do teacher to motivate their students? Here are examples on how to motivate your learners and as a future educator. First, yes, pay attention to the strengths and limitation of each of your students. Rewards their strengths and strengthen their weaknesses. Second, vary your instructional strategies. Use lectures, demonstration, discuss case studies, groups, and more. Encourage your students to share their ideas and comments even if are incorrect. One way to encourage students and teach them responsibility is to get them involved in the classroom. If you are going to truly inspire and motivate of all students, you should know of each of them on a personal level. And we need to know each of them, their interests and hobbies. And third is promote growth mindset over fixed mindset. So as a future teacher, we can model the growth mindset, have courage, and also ask students for feedback about your teaching. Work hard for students, be dedicated, and share how hard work translates to success and growth. And the last, be inspirational to your learners. So example, if you want to be a great educator or teacher, you must connect your pupils and reach them a multiple level. Because the best teachers are committed to their students both inside and out of the classroom. Also, a great teacher are remembered not for the knowledge they impart, but for the way they encourage them and to guide them and lift their students' achievements. Remember, not just for a subjects only, but also in the important skills of living fulfilling life. So that's it. My understanding about the principle of the effect of motivation on effort. That's it. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. So, I am Hansel Kumighod. I'm going to report the two principles under developmental and social factors. First, we have developmental influences on learning. So, what is developmental influences on learning? So, as individuals develop, there are different opportunities and constraints in learning. So, meron daw maraming opportunities, but there is also constraints. When you say constraints, it is hindrances on learning. So learning is most effective when differential development within and across physical, intellectual, emotional, and social domains are considered. So sabi ko nga kanina, merong mga hadlang or constraints on learning. So ito yun siya, yung physical, intellectual, maybe emotional, or social. Pero dapat itong mga hadlang na ito ay dapat nating i-consider. So I have here 3 examples as per asked by our teacher we should give 3 example situations in every principle or in each principle. So first, so if you have a student that is having a disability, so probably he has limited capabilities. For example, kulang yung fingers niya. So, hindi mo talaga siya mapupush na gawin yung isang activity na para dapat sa mga walang disability. So, isa ito sa mga hadlang na matuto sila. For example, tinuturuan mo sila paano magsulat. So, sa mga merong disability, mahihirapan sila na magsulat ng maayos because of the said disability. So, that's for physical. So, next we have the intellectual. So, if a child has a illness like dyslexia, so dyslexia is a learning disorder that involves difficulty reading due to problems identifying speech sounds and learning how they relate to letters and words. So, this dyslexia is a reading disability. Dyslexia affects areas of the brain that process language. So, kapag meron kang disorder na ganito, mahihirapan ka talaga mag-cope up sa mga sound, like speech sound. So, mahihirapan yung bata na matutong magbasa. And because of this, he should have a problem in reading which affect his academic excellence. So kumbaga, magiging behind talaga siya when it comes to learning. So, if meron siyang kaklase na walang disorder, so mas madali talaga para sa kanila matutong magbasa. So, next and last for my example situation is for emotional. So, a teenager have a maltreatment history. So, she cannot focus on reading because of the trauma have caused by the maltreatment. So, because of the trauma, so, nahihirapan siyang magbasa. Hindi siya makafocus sa pinagagawa ng kanyang teacher. So, meron siyang emotional problem. So, emotional problem is probably a hindrance on learning of the teenager kasi hindi siya makapag-focus sa gusto ipagawa ng kanyang teacher sa kanya or hindi siya makafocus sa dapat niyang matutunan because of her emotional problem. So next we have the social influences on learning. So social influences on learning is learning is influenced by social interactions, interpersonal relations, and communication with others. So yung kanina yung developmental is referring yun siya as individual and development. Ito is yung influences ng mga taong nakapaligid sa iyo. So I have here 3 example situations. First, we have birds with the same feather flock together. So you're familiar with this quote. So if you have a positive vibes around you, you are mostly have a positive disposition in life. So tama naman. Kapag yung nakapaligid sa iyo is mga positibong tao, so ikaw mismo magiging positive ka din sa buhay. Then, next we have if a child grows in a chaotic and violent family, he watches his father beat his mother, he should mostly violent in the future because of his exposure to violence. So, dito natin masasabi na yung kumbaga, adaptation. So, ma-adapt ng bata yung, kung ano yung nakikita niya sa mismong pamilya niya o sa mismong papa niya na sinasaktan yung mama niya. So, in the future, pwede niya itong ma-adapt or pwede din na hindi niya ito gawin. So, third, we have the if a child's parents spend a lot of time on church, most likely, he will also be an active member of a church because that's what he see in his parents. So, kagaya nga yung kanina is negative man yun siya. Ito siya, this is a positive influence by the family itself of the child. So, if active daw yung parents niya sa church, so, yung anak niya din, probably kapag lumaki na, is magiging active member din sa church. So, learning can be enhanced when the learner has the opportunity to interact and to collaborate with others on instructional tasks. So, mas Mas may enhance yung learning nila kapag hinahayaan yung isang estudyante na makipag-collaborate or makipag-interact sa kanyang kapwa kaklase. For example, hayaan natin sila groupings. Hayaan natin silang mag-brainstorming, mag-sharing of ideas. So, through that, mas marami siyang matututunan from his classmate or from her classmates. And we all know that we can learn everywhere. Kahit saang sulok tayo ng mundo, kahit saan sulok ka man ng mundo, meron kang pwedeng matutunan. So that's all for my report under the developmental and social factors. We have again the developmental influences on learning and the social influences on learning. Sana po ay may natutunan kayo. Thank you.
So, good morning everyone. My name is Wendy Pacheco. I'm B.Ed student, secondary college. My topic is individual differences in learning and diversity. So, individual are born with and develop their own capabilities and talents. In addition to learning and social evaluation, acculation rather, they have acquired their own preferences for how they like to learn and the pace that which they learn. However, these preferences are not always useful in helping learners reach their learning goals. So, ang individuals differences learning is ning bumuo sila ng kanilang sariling mga kakayahan at talento bilang karagdagan kahit na ang pag-aaral at acculturation ng lipunan, nakakakuha sila ng kanilang sariling mga kagustuhan para sa kung paano nila nais na malaman at ang bilis na natutunan nila. So, meron akong example. So, my example is there are variety of individual differences that must be of concern to classroom teachers. Leveling or tracking, classroom grouping, cooperative learning, and individualized instructions are examples of this approach. Third, you can modify the condition within which construction is taking place. So, sa learning and diversity naman is the same basic principles of learning motivation and effective instructions apply to all learners. However, language, ethnicity, race, belief, and socio-economic status all can influence learning. So ang learning and diversity is meron din akong example. So, diversity is everything that makes people different from each other. This includes many different factors: race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, ability, age, religious belief, or political convictions. And that's all.
Hi everyone, my name is Mari Victi. I'm second year college taking a Bachelor of Elementary Education. So my topic is all about standard and assessment. So what is standard and assessment settings? Opportunity, high and challenging standard and assessing the learners as well as learning progress, including diagnostic process and outcomes assessment are integral rather parts of the learner's process. So in an education setting, standard based assessment in that released on the evaluation of student understanding with respect to agree upon standards, also know as outcomes. The standards set the criteria for the successful demonstrations of the understanding of the concepts of skills. And also in assessment is a test or analysis, and to gather the important informations about student performance, that student determine that they are learning. For example, write and document, yung portfolio and exam, para need mo kasi yung i-test yung kung may nalalamang yung estudyante mo sa pagbibigay mo ng evaluation, at kailangan mo tingnan yung performance ng iyong estudyante, kung maganda ba or may mga bagay ba na hindi niya nalalaman. So need mo siya i-assess. So may isa pa ding example, self-assessment. So as a teacher, I'm going to find activities that help me think creatively. Verbal communication skills have been excellent. That's all. Thank you, and God bless.